Welcome to Ping 24 Updates. Subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for more updates. It starts with a flash, a news alert, a breaking story scrolling across your screen. US and Chinese warships in near collision. South China Sea, tensions spike. Pentagon confirms unsafe and unprofessional maneuver by Chinese Navy. These headlines paint a crisis unfolding far from home, global powers on a collision course. But headlines only scratch the surface. They miss the tension, the human element, the steel and seawater. Two massive warships, bristling with weapons, move through the same patch of ocean. On the water, the margin for error vanishes. One wrong move could change everything in an instant. For the crews, the headlines are distant noise. Their world is radar screens, radio chatter, and the hum of engines. They're trained for this, but nothing matches the reality of a true confrontation. Every decision now carries real-world consequences. News reports will later dissect the politics, but first comes the raw event. Two captains, two crews, two nations, staring each other down across a narrow strip of water. A high-stakes drama in the vast South China Sea. The headlines give you the what. We're here to show you the how and why it matters. This is more than a news story. It's a glimpse into the razor's edge of global power. The day began like any other on the USS John S. McCain, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. Commander Eva Rostova stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the horizon. The ship was conducting a freedom of navigation operation, sailing through international waters China claims as its own. It was a message. These sea lanes must remain open. Standard mission, but always risky here. The crew moved with quiet efficiency, focused on their roles. The SPY-1 radar swept the ocean, tracking every vessel. Technology is powerful, but judgment and nerves matter more. Suddenly, a voice. Contact bearing 090, range 15 miles, closing fast. A Chinese warship appeared on the tactical display. Not unexpected. Chinese ships often shadow US vessels here. But this one was closing in fast. The crew's training kicked in. Checklists, double checks, eyes on the horizon. Commander Rostova calculated, was this posturing or something more? She had to protect her ship and crew, but not be reckless. The bridge's calm professionalism now carried a sharp edge. Every sailor knew their role, but the tension was unmistakable. The margin for error was gone. The next few minutes would define the mission. The world watched headlines. The crew lived the reality. The standoff was just beginning. The ship on the horizon grew larger, fast. A Luoyang 3 class destroyer, the CNS Changsha, was on an intercept course. Its bow pointed directly at the McCain's midsection. A dangerous game of chicken. The mood on the McCain shifted from tense to critical. Range, 5 miles. Still on a collision course. Commander Rostova ordered a hail Chinese warship. This is US Navy warship. Hold course and speed. Request you alter course to starboard. Silence. The Changsha kept coming. 4 miles. 3 miles. The ships were now visible to the naked eye. The red Chinese flag, sailors on deck. Every detail clear. The silence was unnerving. Rostova repeated the message. You are on a collision course. Your actions are unsafe. Alter course immediately. Again, silence. Less than 2 miles now. No sign of turning. This was no longer shadowing, it was a direct challenge. The time for talk was ending. The crew braced for action. The world's two greatest powers, face to face, with seconds to decide. The rules of the sea were being tested. The next move could change everything. The McCain's crew waited for the Changsha's response. The tension was electric. The fate of the encounter hung in the balance. Every second mattered. The crisis was now. With radio calls ignored, the ships spoke a different language. Movement and signals. Rostova ordered 5 short blasts from the McCain's horn, a universal warning. The Changsha made a slight turn, not enough to avoid, but enough to change its approach. Now it aimed to cut across the McCain's bow, an aggressive maneuver known as shouldering. On the McCain, every eye was fixed on the Chinese destroyer, now just hundreds of yards away. Rostova faced a choice: hold course and risk collision, or turn and risk appearing weak. The tension was palpable. The McCain held steady, a statement of resolve. The Changsha pressed on, a statement of defiance. For agonizing seconds, the two warships were locked in a silent, deadly ballet. The fate of both crews depended on their commander's judgment. The world's attention was focused on this narrow strip of water. The silent language of warships spoke louder than words. The next move would decide peace or disaster. This was more than a standoff of steel. It was a high-tech chess match. As the Changsha closed in, its fire control radar locked onto the McCain, a major escalation. The American crew didn't respond in kind, avoiding further escalation. Instead, they activated the ANSLQ-32 electronic warfare suite, ready to jam or deploy decoys if needed. In the Combat Information Center, the tactical action officer hovered over defensive controls. The Phalanx CIWS was ready, but the order to fire would only come from the commander. Both ships gathered intelligence, testing each other's limits. The confrontation on the surface was mirrored by an invisible battle of signals and sensors. Every move was recorded, every emission analyzed. The stakes were high, but the duel remained silent. Technology and nerves were equally tested. The next escalation could mean open conflict. Both sides waited, watching for the other to blink. Commander Rostova added a new piece to the board: launch the helicopter. The MH-60 Romeo Seahawk lifted off, circling above the two ships. From the sky, the crew relayed real-time video to the bridge, giving Rostova a clear view. The helicopter was a show of capability, a reminder the McCain was not alone. On the Changsha, sailors turned their eyes upward. The helicopter wasn't armed for attack, but its presence changed the equation. It could monitor, record, and introduce unpredictability. The Changsha's aggressive momentum slowed. Its fire control radar switched off. The standoff de-escalated, not with threats, but with demonstration. The helicopter circled, a watchful eye in the sky. The U.S. Navy had raised the stakes without firing a shot. The message was clear. Escalation would be met with greater capability. The crisis edged back from the brink. This encounter happened in the South China Sea, one of the world's most strategic waterways. 1/3 of global shipping passes through here, over $5 trillion in trade. It's a commercial artery and a region of fierce territorial disputes. China claims almost the entire sea, overlapping with several other nations. The U.S. Navy's operations challenge these claims, upholding freedom of navigation. China has built and militarized artificial islands, projecting power far from its coast. Control of these waters means control of global trade. The near collision was more than a reckless maneuver. It was a clash of visions. China says, "This is our water." The U.S. replies, "These are international waters." Two ships, two worldviews, face to face. The stakes: global security and economic stability. The South China Sea is the front line of a larger struggle. The standoff couldn't last forever. With the helicopter circling and the McCain holding steady, the Changsha finally turned away. The maneuver was slow, designed to save face. The immediate danger passed. The crew exhaled. Commander Rostova watched until the Chinese ship was safely parallel. No celebration, just a return to routine. The Changsha continued to shadow the McCain, but from a safer distance. The radio finally crackled. U.S. Navy warship. Maintain safe distance. It was a perfunctory message, but it broke the silence. The incident was over, but its memory lingered. Data and video would be analyzed, reports written. For the crew, it became a sea story. For strategists, another data point in a tense rivalry. The de-escalation was fragile, a temporary truce in a larger competition. The Pacific remained on edge. This was more than a dramatic news story. It's a reminder of how quickly peace can turn to crisis. A few hundred yards of water separate routine from disaster. One miscalculation could have triggered a global incident. The aftermath would be accusations, nationalism, and pressure to escalate. These encounters are happening more often as China asserts its claims and the U.S. pushes back. Two nuclear-armed powers playing chicken in a critical waterway. The sailors are well trained, but the margin for error shrinks every day. The world's stability depends on these encounters ending peacefully. Clear communication and protocols are urgently needed. Without them, We rely on the steady hands of sailors to prevent catastrophe. As this incident shows, those hands are being tested more and more. The next crisis could be closer than we think.